Welcome to Working Groups discussion and ways to maximize the time that you have during a consultation or outside to maximizing the effectiveness of your working groups. We're in step two now, which is defining the problem. Before we even get started, Bill, with this, we have our purpose statement now. Defining the problem, give us an example of where you've seen this happen that maybe some of us can relate to. Is there an example of that?
Well, sure. I think in the formation of the International Orality Network many years ago, it was determined that the biggest problem was awareness, that orality was something new in the church and that people really did not have an understanding
Mhm.
of what orality was. So over a long period of time, many discussions, it came about that this was the greatest problem and therefore it was to be attacked in such and such a way. But it took a lot of time and a lot
Mhm.
of discussion to finally realize that amongst many other issues and problems that that was number one.
Mhm. So- And so, in this, as we're trying to define the problem, we have a couple of objectives that we're going to really try to maximize in this step. And one is to really articulate what are the challenges surrounding this. Our purpose is to support the development in a new nation or in a developing nation. And so, what are the challenges surrounding that? Well, you got the government, you have the instability, you have so many different things. People are scared to go in there.
Mhm.
And then what is the key problem of getting and saying, man, all these are real. It's not that any of them aren't, and it's
Mhm.
not that not all of them are significant, but to narrow the focus and select that key problem. So, in the activities here of what we can do to maximize this defining of the problem, really narrowing it, the first thing is restating the purpose statement. It almost seems rhetorical, but in your experience, why is that so important to begin with that?
Well, you have to keep the group focused in on the major objective. What is it that you're really trying to achieve in the end? It's very easy for a group, especially if you're more than five people, and usually working groups are, to just, tangentially go to many, many, many different uh, areas of challenge. So the facilitator really needs to focus in on this purpose statement.
I love the opportunity that a facilitator has in these meetings
Mm-hmm.
to include new people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is beginning that process now when we begin to define the process of really drawing people out that are coming from different organizations, coming
Right.
from different backgrounds and saying, what have you experienced? What have you heard? What are you seeing that's blocking you or your organization from being able to really accomplish it? The purpose statement, much like the vision statement, is bigger than any one
Mm-hmm.
organization can
Mm-hmm.
accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And so allowing those voices to be heard becomes so important. So this identifying internal and external blocks, internal, we mean more inside your organization or
Mm-hmm.
inside us. What are things that are hindering us from being able to be successful? External, then, what are some of the external forces? Prioritizing the problems. It seems like this narrowing is already seeing that in partnership. Talk about a little bit this idea of a level playing field or consensus building. What's one example of a way that you've done that to where people feel like they're heard and yet we're coming to consensus?
Well, again, it's very time consuming, but you need to work on the wording. We've already done that in the purpose statement, and you've gotten to a certain extent ownership and buy-in there. And now you've got to work on people discussing and talking about what they see as the biggest problems,
Mm,
internal, external.
mm,
And let everybody talk, let everybody ask, and then you arrive at a consensus. It doesn't have to be unanimous, it always helps to be unanimous, but arrive at a consensus where people would agree on the most important one. But make sure that everybody has their say.
mm,
Otherwise, you're overriding people.
mm, mm. So in that, this is another place where I just see there is a lot of opportunity for creativity, and not getting bogged down by the weight of it. I think that can happen sometimes when we're talking problems and challenges. It can be, wow, there is absolutely no hope for us. We talk about a possibility of flip charts. We talk about a SWOT analysis, force field analysis. Is there one, Bill, that you like to use, or one that stood out to you as far as really opening up this discussion, or giving it a little bit of a framework?
Well, mainly because of time. I mean, the flip chart is the best
Mm,
because you've got it right there. You can focus in on the wording that's put up. You can eliminate those that are lower priority versus the higher priority. You get into a more detailed analysis if you go into the SWOT
okay.
or the force field. So that's a matter of time and energy. If you've got the time and energy and the resources to do a SWOT analysis, then great, because that gives you more information then that you can take and share with your ministry leaders and the people back in the home office or the team or whatever the case may be. But the reality of the situation is flip charts are really the things that you have the time to do.
Yep, yep. And for those of you that might not be as familiar with SWOT analysis, take some time, research them. It's a great way to look
Mm,
both at the strengths and the positive
mhm,
side,
mhm,
along with the weaknesses and threats. I love that it takes both a retro look, looks back, but it
mhm,
also a proactive looking forward as
mhm,
well.
mhm.
Force field analysis, for those of you that might not be familiar with that, it's simply looking at what are the forces that are for change, and what are the forces
Right.
against change. And a lot of times when we can see that those forces for change are stronger, then there's that encouragement.
Mhm.
And the beauty is that we have the Holy Spirit, so we always got that
Amen.
one. We always got
That's
that
right.
one knocked out there.
That's a big force.
So as we've done this now, and as we've made these flip charts, we've distilled down and saying, really coming to this one key question. If one of these challenges could be overcome, which do we believe would have the greatest impact on fulfilling our purpose statement? It's tying it back into that purpose statement. It's giving us some clarity. It's giving us some focus. How hard is it to get to one? I mean, why aren't we saying three right now?
Mhm.
Wouldn't it be more logical to say three, or at least two, internal, external? Why
Yeah.
one?
Sure, it would be more logical, but then you're diffusing your ability to solve the problem. Your working group is small, your resources, let's face it, we don't have a lot of resources, so they're minimal. It's best to focus in on that number one problem so you can focus in on action steps, be it one, two, three, that lead to solving that problem. Sure, it's a lot better, makes more people feel like they're a piece of it or a part of it if you have all these different problems, but in reality, we go back to our everyday job, if you will, and things don't get done. So focus on one.
Yeah, yeah. So just to restate, understand the challenges. We're not saying that they're insurmountable. We're saying that there are some challenges that are blocking us from getting our purpose statement
Mm,
knocked out, and we want to see our purpose statement fulfilled. Then begin to narrow it down. The greater your creativity in this session will keep it from feeling really heavy.
mm,
It'll create positive discussion, which is really what you're going for in this, because this is the one session that has the potential to get very weighty and very heavy and think that we don't have the hope, whereas we know we always have the hope. Come out of session two with the one problem that you're going to be able to do
mm,
so that you can fulfill the purpose statement.
right. Okay.